Hi, today I'm going to be talking about rethinking serverless containers, and serverless has been one of the most interesting topics I love talking about in the cloud. I feel like people need to know more about the goodness of serverless in this era of cloud computing. So let me quickly introduce myself real quick, right? My name is Obinna, and I am a Kubernetes engineer at Kubermatic. I'm also a maintainer and member of the CNCF project. I work on ChartMuseum, and you can reach out to me on Twitter at Odirionye, and ask me questions or send your mayhems to me or whatever the case may be. So let's quickly dive in, right? When you think about the concept of serverless, right, there's this particular definition I love by Scott Hansman. He's one of the amazing folks at Microsoft. And he said, serverless doesn't mean there are no servers. It means we think about servers less. When you think about the idea, it means there are servers running at the background, but means less management. You don't have to do a lot of things to get things up and running, right? Now, serverless basically has its good and its bad parts, but I want to talk to you quickly about the greatness about serverless, basically. And basically, you pay for what you use. So, meaning if nobody's pinging your website or your application, you don't actually pay for anything. No server management is required. You can actually now focus on deploying your apps to the end user without worrying about configuring this or installing SSL or running Docker anywhere. It is inherently scalable because then whenever there is load or maybe there is a spike in traffic, it scales immediately. Like it can be super fast and basically quick and fast deployment, which I'm also going to show you today in a demo. Like I said, you can really focus about shipping your software to the end users. The bad parts about serverless, like everything that has a good part definitely has a bad part, right? So one of the bad parts basically is it is not built for long running process. So if you have a particular function or a particular kind of service that deserves a long running process, please avoid serverless. But it gets better now. There have been some major announcements in the serverless computing industry where people are trying to improve on top of this, folks at Google and Microsoft, and have some performance issues also. And one of the bad parts about it also is vendor locking. So meaning if you were to deploy a function, let's say to a particular platform, you might have to rewrite it a little bit for it to work in another platform. Like there is this vendor locking. So a lot of things around it. And then it's hard to debug because then when you deploy it automatically, it is very hard to detect where the error is coming from. There are great tools out there that can help you debug, but then it's still a pain, even up to today. The concept of serverless started as just functions, right? When you think about functions, basically, it's about writing a tiny piece of text and then you deploy it straight to the cloud. And those functions could be like making a Twitter bot. So you can build like a Twitter bot, it could be a RESTful API, it could even be like an S3 replicator. Basically, think of it as different microservices working together, right? But then, even as great as it sounds, serverless functions, there have always been some bad parts about it, and that's basically limited runtime availability. What this means is you have to wait till the cloud provider offering you that serverless function have to release a runtime. Take, for example, if you wanted to use Node.js 18 or Node.js 14, you basically have to check the documentation to see if that cloud provider has that offering. It is heavily decoupled. So if you're running like a monolith, it can be very, very difficult. The concept of functions basically is breaking applications into different pieces. So it is heavily decoupled. So because of that, I mean, you might not want to run a microservice because then it's hard to manage. You're in a small team and then you want to move fast, right? It could be really, really hard. And then like we said, vendor locking. So meaning you could have a service running on Google Cloud Functions and then you want to move it to Microsoft Azure and then you need to like refactor it and all of that. So it could really be a pain in the ass. So like so much problems. Like when you think about it, there are so much problems. Like I can't even deal. But then here's the good part, the birth of serverless containers. And I'm really, really interested about this. Now, one of my favorite quotes from a principal engineer at Google, Kesley Hightower, he said, serverless have evolved beyond functions as a service, and functions are an implementation detail. And this really caught my attention because then we don't necessarily have to always keep on writing functions. Serverless architecture is great. Like, you can scale, it has all these great features as we discussed in the good part. But the problem with it is you have to write it in microservices. Like, it can be a pain in the ass, right? So like, how do we give birth to something entirely new? How do we come up with an architecture or with the ideology that we can actually have a monolithic applications and still move at scale? So the first people that came up with the serverless was Google Cloud, and they came up with this particular service called Cloud Run. So in August 15, 2018, Google released Cloud Run in its alpha release. And the main goal of this was to bring the best parts of serverless architecture and bring the great parts of containers and make them work together. So the cons or the problems basically you face in serverless functions were actually now being fixed in serverless containers. And I'll show you that real quick. Now, the great part about serverless containers, now openness to business logic, meaning you can write your login, logout right in the same repo, and you can deploy that. You don't have to worry about deploying to this microservice and to that microservice and all of that. Also, you can split traffic. So if you're in an organization where you guys, where folks are trying to move fast and ship quickly, and you want to see how a service performs over another service, you can split the traffic, and then you can say, okay, I want 50% to go to these people, and then 50% goes to other people. There is no vendor lock-in, meaning if you're running it on Google Cloud today, you can as well move it to Microsoft Azure or move it to AWS, or any of your favorite cloud provider, or whichever one your company uses as at the time of this recording. And yes, you don't have to know Kubernetes. Like, it's crazy. Like, because I mean, containers came out from Docker, and everybody's talking about Kubernetes, and all that is managed behind the scenes. So if you're a developer, you don't have to worry about Kubernetes. And my most favorite part is you can bring your own runtime. So if you're a Kotlin developer, if you are a Java developer, you are a Node.js developer, you can bring your own runtime and then use, because then you can manage that at scale. Now, I've said a lot of things. I want to show you a quick demo how this works. Let's jump right into it. So here, as you can see, I currently have a Node.js app on my system. I have configured it, and you can actually check on the slides for the link basically to access this. And I'm going to quickly show you how we can actually we're going to do like a couple of great things. We're going to actually deploy a Node.js app to Cloud Run and then see how it performs. So I have created some automation, so you don't have to worry about it when you're using it. You just need to make sure that you are logged into your Google Cloud account. So a Google Cloud account is actually required for this demo. So the first thing I'm going to do is to do make and do config. What is going to happen is it's going to set up an environment on Google Cloud to make sure that we're able to do setting deployment on our servers. The next thing I'm going to do is to type make again and then do build. What it's going to do is it's going to look into this Docker file. So I have a Docker file here, basically. This Docker file will automatically, so this simple Docker file just simply means it's going to take in the contents of the image, of the Node.js application, and do some npm install and start it automatically. So I'm going to actually build that image now. So I'm going to say make build. But what it's going to do now is it's going to build the application now. So the next thing I want to do basically is to push it to a registry, right? So I'm actually going to use, for this demo, we're going to be using the Google Cloud Registry. So I'm just going to say make push. And then it's going to go ahead and push that. It's going to take a couple of time, but it's going to go ahead and push that. Make push. Let's give it some time. And yes, I think we're almost there. So I'm just gonna wait. Let's see. Oh, I didn't enter. So make push. Oh, that's my bad. Sorry. So I didn't run that. So make push. And then we can see it's trying to push the image to Google registry. And then it does that, and then it's going to come back. And then we can actually do make deploy. So what make deploy is going to do now is it is going to take our application that is Google registry and then push it to Cloud Run and then perform some great stuff there. Allow authenticated just simply means we want it to be publicly available, and then it's going to do just that real quick. And our service basically is running on port 3000, right? Now, if I take this and I click on this, we're going to see it. It's going to load up real quick. Hooray, we have our application running. So if you come back here into my console for Google Cloud, you can actually see that we have the application right here and it is running well. So what if I want to make an update, right? Let's make a little update actually to our application. So I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to make an update to our application. So yeah, I have my code base and I'm just going to go into where the route is and I'm going to change this to Obinna, my name basically, and then we can go ahead and then we run this application. So I'm just going to update some settings, basically because this is a new version. So I'm going to push this to version 2, make it version 2, and then push this to version 2. Now we can go ahead and run this again. So I'm going to do make build. Again, it's going to build the application, package it, and then I'm going to do make push. So it's going to go ahead and push this to the Google Cloud Registry. And when that is done, we can say make deploy. Make deploy. So we can see that it's actually deploying it. Let's wait, let's wait, let's wait, let's wait. And then we're routing the traffic right now. And then it's done. So that means if we go back here and then we retry this service, we can actually see the name will be updated here. Hooray! So basically that's how it works, right? And the great thing about it is we can even go ahead and even split traffic, right? So we can even say, okay, we want to run like canary releases. So we can say we want to be able to do 50% release. So we can do this, manage traffic and say, okay, we want it to be 50. So we want 50% of the users coming here to see the latest version. And then we want 50% of the users to see the old version. And then if we go ahead and save it, what is going to happen right now, that it's going to actually split the traffic. So the first one is 50, and then this one is going to change to 50. Now, if we go back, we're going to see welcome to Express now. Let's see. It's supposed to be splitting. Exactly. So you can see welcome to Express. So it's basically going to be load balanced between the two of them. So that's basically that, about that. So yeah. So I want to believe that we are adopting like serverless containers comes with a lot of benefits. The benefits are really, really enormous. And we are not there yet. But I feel people should start looking at it. People need to start paying attention to what it's doing because we are just definitely scratching the surface of serverless. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again. Yeah, thank you for listening to my talk and have a wonderful day. Bye.